Good morning, everyone. I apologize for being late. I am Solid Blue Sister, and welcome to Keep It Solid. Today is Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026, and with me today is my ride or die, Dread Empath. So thank you for joining me. Okay, y'all. So,
Absolutely solid.
this show is only going to be an hour because this is Tuesday. I got stuff to do, but
I hear you.
um, this is this show is going to be well, it's not even I don't want to really call it a recap of Saturday's Friendly Differences, but there was a lot going on in that show, and I have things that I need to say where people have sent me um, some emails, and there was a comment mentioned in Thomas's Sound of Coffee in the chat, where someone said that, when Thomas announced that my show was coming on, this person said in the chat, they refuse to listen to triggering broadcasts, which is fine, which is fine. That stuff doesn't bother me. Um, I've had people who have sent me some emails in the last couple of days saying that I was a racist. Some people said it was a good topic. People, everybody was all over the board, and I welcome all of those comments. But we don't live in a bubble. I am a woman. I am Black. I am a Black woman. Okay. Um, because of that, I can't live in a bubble. Every every day I hear something that is triggering. Every day I hear something that is racist, and I really do, and I see it. Um, so if you feel triggered, or you feel that I'm a racist, or whatever, then this is not the show for you. And I don't feel bad about that. But I am always going to talk about uncomfortable topics, because one reason, this is something I truly believe, one reason why we're in the situation that we are in is because people don't want to talk about the uncomfortable topics. Dread, am I wrong? What do you think?
No, you're not wrong. And it's funny that you brought up the word trigger, which has gained some traction in the past, I would say about 5 years, around 2020. Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. Okay. And before 2020, Black people didn't get trigger warnings. We just got triggers. Okay. Everybody wants a trigger warning, but why? And let's be real, we still don't get trigger warnings. We still get called the N bomb right to our faces. We don't say, nobody says, hey, trigger warning, somebody's going to call you the N word today. Somebody's going to tell you to get over it today. Somebody's going to say something so racist, and you have to keep your composure because of the color of your skin. You are going to be put in a box. As Taz said on the show, right? She said, when one Black person does a good deed, we are individualized. But
Mm-hmm.
when one Black person does something bad, now we all have to explain it. Now we
Mm-hmm.
all have to um, atone for the sins of another. But this coming from the same people who they'll say, I didn't own any slaves, but you're still participating in the behavior that your
Exactly.
ancestors set up. You're still embracing your privilege. So, trigger warning. We don't care. At least not me. And it's Black History Month.
But I don't just say. I mean, because the person who said it on Sound of Coffee, I don't know. I've never met this person. I don't know if they're Black, they're white, they're Asian. They're Native American. I don't know. But for me, if I'm uncomfortable with something, I don't go back to that space. So if you feel that you don't want to be in this space because of what I talk about, then please don't come. I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way. I truly mean what I say. Um,
But solid, if I may, it's very true. You said, like you said, if it's triggering, then don't come to this space. It's no different than if you don't like something on television, you change the channel.
right.
If you don't like to eat at a certain establishment, you don't keep going there and spending your money, whether it's free or you're spending your money. In the end, you don't have to. If I see a video on TikTok, and I used to be one of the biggest people who would argue with somebody in the comments. I don't have to like what you say. I don't have to go back to that space. I don't have to engage. And that is basically what it is. If it's that uncomfortable for you, hey, sorry. Some of us are comfortable talking about these topics. I don't like to talk to people who, as Solid you just said, you're black and you're a woman. I'm black, I'm a woman, and I'm LGBT. So I get triggers all over the place, triggers, if you will. If someone says something I don't like, I just deleted and blocked 2 people on Facebook because I found out who they are. They're homophobic, they're transphobic. You can have a difference of opinion, but you cannot be hateful. I don't want any hateful people in my space. I don't want to be in the space of hateful people. And people may say the same about us, that this is a hateful space. That's
Well,
their prerogative.
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that hateful. Let's talk about the hateful thing for a moment, because people have also said that Saturday's show in on Friendly Differences was hateful. And Fairy Goddess, thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep up, keep being pressured. Someone being uncomfortable is not your problem. Very true. But why is it hateful to talk about an experience that people have? Now, some people can say that the panel that was on there, and the one person who was doing the pushback, that it was this person was ganged up on. I don't think so. And I have been in spaces where it's just me and them. And I'm not talking about conservatives versus, someone on the left. I'm talking about me being where I have literally been surrounded by a bunch of white people, and people are throwing racial slurs at me.
Wow.
And this is when I was in school. This is when I was like 12. And this has been when I was in high school, and they had to literally, I went to a school, I went to school in a white neighborhood. The school wasn't half and half, but it was it was mostly white, but it was still a good portion of black people there. But we were on the other side of the tracks, so to speak. And we were in a sundown town. And they literally had to lock us in. And we did not go home that night because the school was surrounded by a bunch of white people who said that if any niggers come out of that building, they were going to kill us. So if you're triggered because of my show, if you're triggered because you think that I said something hateful, if you think that I'm racist, whatever, bless you. You know, I, you know, as someone said, because I reached out to someone after the show, and they said to me, they'll never get it. And that is the topic of this show. They'll never get it. But do you know how many times I have spoken to Dread. I've talked to other people where somewhere in the conversation, those words come up. They'll never get it. They'll never get it. They'll never get it. This is not an anomaly. And when you do not understand and live the experience that other people live, you won't get it. You won't. And I can say the same thing about being white. I can say the same thing about being Native American, about Asian. I can't understand what it's like to live in a war zone because I've never lived
Right.
during a time when bombs have been dropped and on my house. The only time there's been war in this country was during the Civil War. So I don't I
Right.
don't know what it's like to be in the Ukraine or in Iran or any of those other places or in or
Where it's war torn. Right.
wherever, because I've never lived through that. I literally cannot imagine what that's like.
But between the difference between you and I is that we will empathize. That's that's where the difference is, because we see those people as human.
Mhm.
And they love, and please, I am not racist myself either. I know that's cliche, but I'm just saying that's the difference between a lot of black people and white people, is that they don't see us as human. They don't, just like they don't see those other countries as human unless they are white. We don't know what it's like to go to school and hear bombs dropping, or come home and your house is a pile of rubble and everybody's gone. And we wouldn't pretend to know, and we wouldn't tell them to get over it, because we know some things you cannot get over.
Mhm.
But these same people that want us to get over it, these are the same people that it's not that they'll never get it, because they're afraid that we'll do to them what they did to us. That's why they'll never let us rise to power. So it's not that they don't get it. They don't want to see it, because, as what's the old saying? No fun when the rabbit has the gun, right? They can't empathize with it, but they can be afraid of it. And being empathetic and fearful are two different things.
Well,
I'm empathetic.
I see. Sunny says empathy goes a long way. And people motivated by fear. Let me ask you this: why do you think people fear us? Why do you think people fear black skin?
Well, one, it's a lot of what is presented, and Ba spoke about the media, right? So you have some people that just don't know that black people are not hateful, killing people, that are always going to steal your purse or steal your car. But the other part of it is they're afraid of our lack of mediocrity. How else could a people that was stolen from a land, or, since they love to emphasize that some of us was sold by other people, but we were still brought here nonetheless, stripped of everything,
Mhm.
beaten, raped, just the worst things you could imagine or speak about, and we still rose above it, still have prospered. Black women are the highest educated demographic, and it's rising. Home ownership with black people is rising, despite despite them having a 400-year head start, and us having to wait at the finish line like this and then run to catch up. We're still catching up to them.
Mhm.
That's a fear. They couldn't do that. They know they can't do that. They can't do it without violence, and they can't do it without stealing. They can't do it without killing people. We did so without doing that. We got it out the mud. We we pulled ourselves up by those bootstraps that they tell us to. That's the fear, is that we will surpass them. We will surpass them and we will treat them as they have treated us. That's the fear. Why do
The
you
thing
think?
is we haven't treated them the way they've treated us. I mean, when you really think about it, we haven't. I mean, do black people kill white people? Yes. Do white people kill
Yeah.
black people? Absolutely. We know this is true. But they want to portray us as these heathens, as the okay, put it like this. White people have a negative word for every other race except for themselves. Native
Mhm.
Americans are savages. Um, Black people are either monkeys or savages. Asians are chinks, and recently they are also what do you call it? Um, what was it that Trump called them during COVID? They also got another name. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I
you know,
can't remember what it is. Yeah.
but every race from them has some negative connotation.
Station. Yes.
So when I look back, it's like when Nat Turner went through his rebellion and killed white people during his rebellion of slavery,
Yes.
all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, we don't, we got to make sure we keep those niggas locked down on the plantation. But y'all forget that what Nat Turner did. Nat Turner killed like 30 people. How many people did you kill? How many people have you lynched? How many people have you beaten? How many people have you tortured to death? You don't talk about that.
Right.
And some people can say, "Oh, y'all keep talking about what happened way back when," but what happened way back when is still happening now. The slave patrols are still out there putting a knee on the neck. They're still beating Rodney King. And every time I see that Rodney King beating, literally, it just brings tears to my eyes. The way that man, just the viciousness of it.
Yeah.
But you want to talk about well, he was a drug dealer, whatever. And then the thing about it is that also gets me is when they say, well, if they should just stop, if you would just surrender, the man was on the ground bleeding and y'all still beating the shit out of him.
I've seen. I was
George
young
George George Floyd was dead, and you still have a knee on the neck. What do
and
you want
handcuffed
us to
and
do?
handcuffed and
And
handcuffed
and handcuffed.
and
What
handcuffed.
what do you want us to do? Now, having said all of that, I am going to play a clip from Saturday,
Ooh.
and I debated whether or not I was going to play this clip. Um, Fairy Goddess says we make meals out of poison scraps.
We did.
And she also said, I want to also make this comment where she says, it's because I empathize doesn't mean you have to tolerate your bad behavior. This is very true.
I agree. I agree.
So had I I took the clip last night, and I have been thinking about it all weekend, and I was trying to debate whether or not I was going to play this, but I decided to play it because the emotion that came out of what was being said, I feel is the emotion of a lot of people. And I have been taken to task for not stopping, putting an end to it.
Okay.
But I'm going to go ahead and play it. It's about six minutes, guys. So just
Bear with us. You won't be disappointed.
bear with us.
You know what, Bob? I'm gonna be dead ass honest with you. You were the reason 5 years ago I started to unlearn everything I ever knew about my life. Bob, I'm 54 years old. I got out of the Army in January 25th of 2021. All I ever wanted to be was a soldier. That was it. But when I got out, couldn't be no soldier no more. Body couldn't handle it. Mind couldn't handle it. So I started a little bit of deconstruction myself. One of the first things I learned about Bob is that I am a misogynist. I have mistreated women in the past. Was I the drugging, raping type? No. I was a philanderer. I cheated a lot with a lot of women. I did. Now, that hurt. That hurt me. That hurt me to my core, but I had to own it, and I own it to this very day. Does that make me special? Does that mean I'm a simp? No, it just simply means I'm being honest with myself. So I'm going to tell you something, Bob. You don't ever have to change. Don't you ever change. Don't ever change. But let me tell you what you are going to get for that non-change, okay? You are never going to question the bullshit you got raised up with because it's too hard for you. It is too goddamn hard for you. And I'm glad you're laughing because I really don't give a fuck at this point. You are the sort of person that seems to believe that your way of thinking is right and we need to come together. Why the fuck would anybody want to come together with somebody who will not even question the shit you've learned your entire goddamn life? Bob, when was the first time you got put in handcuffs? Don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Because I got them at 11.
21.
11, Bob. The first time I ever got called a nigga, I was 7 years old. And it was a kid across the goddamn street from me in Memphis, Tennessee. Do you know what my answer was to that kid, me and my little sister? Oh, we were going to whoop his ass. We were going to beat the shit out of him. This was the first time we'd ever heard a white kid call us that. But where did that kid learn it from? His punk-ass father. I was 11 years old the first time I was ever put in handcuffs. My little brother was 7. And it was because some goofy-ass white woman, her son got his ass whooped by black kids, and any black kids would do. So me and my brother had to sit in the back of a goddamn police car while this white woman went and found her son. These are the ones that beat you up. And it turned out, no, we weren't, because we had been in the house all day. The first time I ever got my goddamn head cracked open, I was 13. I was in a white karate gi, leaving karate class. I got the back of my head split open. I got called a nigga more than once by 3 different officers, 2 white and a Hispanic, because a 90-something-year-old woman with glasses so goddamn thick the bitch could see the sixth sense had the nerve to say that there was a black man walking around breaking in cars. But it wasn't him. It wasn't me because I wasn't wearing black pants. And then when I went home, bleeding all over the back of this goddamn karate gi, my mother said there ain't nothing we can do about it because that's the police. You know what that cop told me? He could blow my little black ass away and get a fucking medal. He said that, not me. That shaped how I saw things. But even in that, Bob, even in that, I tried to make sure my shine wasn't dim because that's how I learned at home from 2 black people who lived and were born and lived in Dillon, South Carolina. My father in 1928, my mother in 1936. They gave me real lessons on racism, not this shit you get on television. So I don't care if you understand, Ba. At this point, I don't give a fuck. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to be as honest about this as I possibly can. You have wasted my time, Taz's time, Solid's time, Lloyd's time, Dred's time, Artemis's time, and Ace's time by being the fucking selfish dick that seems to believe you know better than people who have lived this shit. I don't care if me saying that white history is about violence and the rest of us have had to live through it. I don't give a shit if it makes your little skin itch. I don't care if you think it's black fatigue. Because at this point, I am no longer walking around looking for the approval of somebody who literally doesn't know a goddamn thing. I don't even care that you're from Scotland. You represent every white man I have ever met in my goddamn life. Think you know better, don't know shit. So if you don't like our lived experiences, if you don't want to take Taz up on an offer of learning how to untrain your goddamn brain in this bullshit, you are wasting everybody's fucking time. I am sick to death of white men that act like they know better. And I don't care if you're in Scotland, the United States, Europe, Paraguay, I don't give a goddamn. Every fucking day, I have to live with the knowledge that when my feet touch the fucking ground, I represent 13% of the goddamn population of the United States. Everything I do is under a fucking a microscope. Everything Taz does, everything Dread does, everything Solid does is under a fucking microscope. Because if one does it, we all do it. But you white men who can kill, murder, molest, rape, beat up, steal people's fucking life savings, and it's called business and capitalism. There's always a fucking lone wolf. There's about 1 million of you motherfuckers. Every single time we turn around, who is it that's shooting up schools? White men. Who is it that's touching kids? White men. Go look at the fucking Jeffrey Epstein files. You will not find one goddamn black person poor like me in those fucking files. And all we have to do is, oh no, we can't say that out loud. No, don't say it because we might hurt his feelings. Oh, God, we got to think about the white man. Fuck you. How about that? I don't give a fuck about your fucking feelings. I have been older than you have been, and I've seen more in this world than you ever have. And the last goddamn thing I'm going to do for the remainder of my black-ass life is live in a world where I got to worry about your fucking feelings. If you don't like the fact that we say white men tear up shit, maybe, just maybe, learn how to fucking dismantle it and stop wasting everybody's fucking time with this. Well, I'm not going to learn. I'm not going to learn. Then walk your ass off the longest pier, off the tallest building to the deepest fucking cavern in the world. You're wasting everybody's fucking time. I'm done. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. I'm done.
Oh, okay. I want to.
You know, it made me uncomfortable the second time to watch it. I mean, you know, ooh, I gotta sit with that again. Here's the thing. A white man could have said it, and it still would have been not received. Because I've seen white men get just as angry and say those things. And other white people, they go in on them. So when we say they'll never get it, they don't want to. You have someone looking like you that's telling you that, you know, imagine somebody that looks like you saying, we are the problem. We are the problem. We may not have enslaved them, but our continued silence and acceptance of the system the way it is a problem for these people.
Well, you know, Jubilation says hearing Thomas say that was healing in a way. And, you know, that was one of the reasons why I decided to play this clip. Because again, like I was going back and forth. Do I play it? Do I not play it? Do I play it? Do I not play it? But what Thomas said, I believe, was felt by a lot of people. And a lot of people of color can relate to what he said. The fact that there was clapping by Ba, to me, was just like the white people who wanted to imitate Derek Chauvin when they did the reenactment of,
Yeah.
you know, putting the knee on George Floyd's neck.
The knee on the neck challenge.
Yes, it is. Yes. You know, so and I know I'm gonna get some pushback from what I've said, you know, but again, they'll never get it. They won't get it. And and I do agree with you when you say because they don't want to, but it's also the fact that their white fragility is showing. They cannot talk about race. They're unable to just acknowledge that this happened. Instead, their go-to defense is, well, why do you have to talk about it? Why can't you talk? Can you just acknowledge it? You know, I can acknowledge that black people do stuff that's fucked up.
Yes.
Asian people do stuff that's fucked up. Latinos do stuff that is fucked up. Guess what, white people? You all do stuff that's fucked up too. Why is it so hard that they cannot just acknowledge that? They just cannot acknowledge that, yes, you have done things in the past that have been triggering, that have been violent. When you look at this country, when you look at this world, yes, in Africa, we were fighting amongst each other. Yes, we did take each other as slaves, you know. But were they slaves or were they prisoners of war? Because if you want to say slaves, then does that mean that in Iran, when the enemy was captured, were they slaves? Uh, in Israel, are they are they slaves? Are Russian making Ukrainian slaves and vice versa?
Good point.
So it, it, you know, to me, I have always said I look at the whole. I will look at everything. I will look that everybody has some effed up part in history, but it's history. And I'm gonna go down another rabbit hole that I know a lot of black people are not going to like me going down.
Uh-oh.
I have always been against removing Confederate statues. I have always been against it 100%. Why? Because it is history. That while we're so busy complaining that Robert E. Lee is standing in the middle of Times Square or wherever, talk about the type of person Robert E. Lee was. I don't care what's on the plaque. Let's break it down and talk about who he really was. Just like we need to talk about who Thomas Jefferson really was and these founding fathers. But I also knew that the day was going to come, especially if Trump was still occupying the White House and his clan was in control, that there's going to be a time when they're going to start dismantling stuff about black people. Pretty soon, Martin Luther King is going to be taken away from in DC. I have seen that. I have seen, everything, they are just they want to dismantle it. Trump wants to take away stuff, anything dealing with slavery from the African National African Museum, in DC. So this is why I'm against it, because you take away theirs, they're going to take away ours. You take away ours, it never stops. Okay. And pretty soon, what we're going to have is everything's going to be gone. But instead, we're going to have statues of Trump. He's already doing it. He already put his name in front of John Kennedy at the Kennedy Center.
Yes, he did.
The only way that's going to come down is if Trump is removed from office and someone takes it down. Right. Because if I were the next president, I would take it down. So this is this is why I was against it. And a lot of black people are like, how can you be against that? Because I knew what was coming. I knew what was coming. Why? Because history repeats itself, people.
Yes, it does. But you know what? I think, because I think back, and I think I was speaking to someone about this, where it used to be very hush hush. Who did you vote for? You didn't ask that. Oh no, that's none of your business. You don't ask people who they voted for. And I think when we were and I was a little girl, back, when I was born in 86. No shame here. But I can remember in the 90s, people did not talk about who they voted for. And that kept the veil of who people were. You didn't know. You didn't know that Frank from accounting, who you had lunch with every so often, and you might have been to a cookout at his house, you didn't know how he felt about black people. But here in 2026, when Frank pulls up and he's got a Trump bumper sticker on his car, now you're like, oh. Or you see Josh, who has a Confederate sticker and a "Don't Tread on Me" sticker. Oh, you got Dread, whose TikTok is public. Now you see she might laugh with you, but she's also very pro-black. You know exactly where everyone stands now. And we spoke about this I forgot if it was Saturday before last, about how now, even in dating, it's black and white. And when I say black and white, I don't mean skin color. It's about where you stand, who you support, what are your ideologies versus the other person. Do you think it's okay for them to be detaining women and raping them in ICE detention centers? Do you think it's okay? Because I've seen videos. Please, guys, do not think that ICE is following the law. I saw them just use a barricade to get into someone's house, and they
wait, hold on. But if it's a law, it's not happening. Remember?
Right. If it's on the law, according to
people,
Bob,
if it's a law, it is not happening.
You ain't got to say some people. I'll say his name. According to Bob, because sundown towns are illegal, that means that it's not happening, which we all know is completely false. Now, I have not been to Vidor, Texas. Vidor. I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard that they don't bother the black people after dark. I've heard don't go there after dark. But what Bob fails to realize is that as a black woman, I can't take that chance. I can't, excuse my language, fuck around and find out and say, you know what? I'm going to go test this hypothesis, and I'm going to be in Vidor, Texas at when the sun goes down, and let's see what happens. I don't have that privilege to just go places. Good morning, Fantastic from Philly. I'm about 2 hours from you. You know, yeah, ICE is in Philly. Where do you stand? And yes, we do have sundown towns right here in Pennsylvania. I've looked them up because I need to know where I can go and where I cannot go. And once upon a time, these things were not spoke about. It was what I call kitchen table talk. The things that me and Solid talk about on the phone that don't nobody know about. That even as outspoken as we both are, we would not say it on the air. And I'm not ashamed to say that, because there are white people who have kitchen table talk, who in the house when they get home. Let me tell you about this nigga that I work with. They won't say it. They won't say it outside, but they'll say it at their homes.
I'm glad you said that, because this is a book that I'm still getting through because I'm reading it in pieces. Hidden Conversations. Okay.
Hidden conversations.
What Americans really think about race and identity. This book, you guys, like I said, I have a couple things that are bookmarked, whatever, but this is a book that you know, if you get a chance, you wanna pick it up. But you know, white people do not understand, or maybe they do, and they just don't want to acknowledge the privilege that they have. This is a book that my parents used to take on vacation. The Green Book. The Green Book. And It tells you, different places to stay, to eat, you know, different places.
Where it's acceptable to
This
stay
is
for
the
us.
1940 edition, you know, um, published by a man by the name of Victor Greens, hence the name, the Green Book. Um, Even though we had it in the car with us, my mother never wanted to use it. She refused to use it, and we never did. We never did.
No,
But one thing that we never did because my mother insisted on staying in the white folks hotel. She insisted on it. And there were times when we had to get white people, very few times, but there was those sympathetic white people who would check us in, and you can say, well, if you don't stay there, then you were taking business away from the black people who were offering, because this is also people's homes. There are personal homes that are listed in here where people were opening up their homes to motorists. Were white people doing that? Because along the way, you had a lot of black people opening up their homes to white people. So you all won't get it. Um,
solid.
there's just so much history behind us.
I may have to have you take a look in that book for my family's home in Florida because when my family owned a home in Florida, they had what's called a mother daughter house. I'm pretty sure everyone here knows what it is in case someone doesn't. Basically, you have the main house, and behind that house, you have a smaller house.
What was the
So,
city?
Hollandale, Florida.
Nope, it's only Jacksonville, Lake City, Lakeland, Miami, Pensacola, Sebring, St. Augustine, St. Petersburg, and Tampa.
Okay. So, and you know what? And just because it's not in that book doesn't mean it didn't happen. Because
True.
I've heard various stories of my great great grandparents who used to take people in who, hey, you want to sit for a while? My great great grandmother used to cook for people. That mother daughter house was used for people who were just passing through. But when they say, oh, it wasn't that long ago, my grandmother was born in 1940. 1940 is just 86 years ago. My grandmother has since, left this earth. However, 1940, you still have people that were born in 1940 living. One of my
Excuse me. They're called boomers. Hello.
boomers, okay.
Oh, boomers. Hello. I was born in 1940, but I am a boomer, and I'm still
I know.
alive.
One of my best friends, she just turned 91. She was born in 1935.
So she is from the silent generation.
Yes, she was born in Harlem, New York in 1935. And she said something to me, and I had to correct her. She said, you young people walk around here saying, well, this isn't fair and that isn't fair. She said, baby, y'all don't know what fair or unfair is. I was born in 1935, and I had to be quiet. I was like, 35. Isn't that Jim Crow? Yeah, that's Jim Crow. That's smack dab in the middle of Jim Crow.
But Jim Crow is still going on. Jim Crow is still very much a part of American society.
It is just not in the sense that they grew. When Jim Crow was happening to them, we don't have to move off the sidewalk for white people. We don't. We can look them dead in the eye and say, "Hey, go to hell." We can do that. They couldn't. Emmett Till. Emmett Till. Didn't that happen around that time? No, Emmett Till is 1955.
Yeah, Emmett Till was 1955. And I'm wrong. 1940 is still the silent generation. Boomers didn't start until 45. But either way, so your friend in 1935 would be 91.
Yeah, she's 91.
Yeah, because my mom was born in 1935. But you just, and I'm glad you brought up Emmett Till, because I wanted to go back to Thomas's comment from the clip. Thomas was speaking for Mamie Till. Thomas was speaking for Emmett Till. Thomas was speaking for everybody, every Black person who crossed that I always know the name of this bridge with John Lewis.
I got you.
Yeah, he's speaking for John Lewis. He's speaking for Obama. He's speaking for you and me. Thomas is speaking for the Black people who came across during the Middle Passage in chains, and the ones that didn't make it across. The ones who decided to throw themselves overboard because they refused to be slaves. So other people may not see it like that. Other people may see it as triggering, but the fact that you have to have a book to go on vacation, so where you can stay, instead of just, oh, there's a hotel right there, let's stay there.
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. The fact that you have people who get upset because the Little Mermaid was black. She was a fish, or she was a mammal. Okay, she was not real. The fact that you get upset that Idris Elba just may be James Bond, they lost their damn minds when they thought it was going to be a black James Bond. Seriously, It's a fictional character.
I love the one. Oh, well, what if we get a white person to play Malcolm X? That's a problem. Malcolm X wasn't white. Harriet Tubman wasn't white.
This is what I'm saying. When you're talking about a fictional character as opposed to a real person, just like it would be ridiculous to make George Washington black. George Washington was not black. He was a white man. Why would you make George Washington black?
A white man.
Or Native American, whatever. But wanting to hold on to these stereotypical, like it just doesn't make any sense. And this, again, why you say they'll never get it.
When Thomas was talking about the first time he got called a nigga, I remember the first time I got called one. I was in the me and my mother were in the mall together, and this was before these locks. I had cornrows, and my mother had locks, and we were in a mall in North Carolina, and this little white girl just looked and said, "Mommy, look at the nigger's hair." And I was taken aback. I'm a kid that grew up in Jersey. I had never I knew white people were not supposed to call us that, but to be called one to your face, and it just came out just as natural. And I remember her mother being mortified. Her mother was like, "Oh my God, I am so sorry." And I later found out that the mother was divorcing her husband because he was racist, because he was abusive. And I said, now as an adult, I'm like, you had a child with this man, you didn't know that he was a racist? that he thought this way, and you still laid down, had a
But
child
don't
with
you?
him, got married.
But you know what though? People hide it well. People hide it well. I mean, you don't think that that's possible? I mean, okay, that's just like saying you don't know that someone is going to start beating you until after you marry them.
That's
So
fair.
they're presenting a certain way, and then you marry that person, or you're in a relationship with this person for a certain amount of time, and then you start to see these things, that they were not presenting when you first started talking to them.
Right.
You
And
know,
I,
so
I didn't learn about the Confederate flag until I was 11. Once again, North Carolina. Got invited to a friend's house. And this is how you can, some of them have to unlearn, because now this same friend, she's LGBT, very pro black, but she's a white girl. Her grandfather had a Confederate flag. And my mom said, "Is this the house?" I said, "Yeah, right there." And she's like, come on, I'm gonna walk you in. Cause it was supposed to be a sleepover. And my mother's met her mother, and she's like, "Hello, we're so happy to have her. Hey." Come to find out, when I went in the house to use the bathroom, her grandfather said, "Get that nigga out of my house." My mother said, "Okay, well, you will not be spending the night here tonight." She let me stay for the party, because I'm like, "Mom, I want to stay at the party," not knowing what that flag represented. And when I got back in the car, my mom said, "It's time we have a history lesson, honey, about that flag." So just imagine at 11 learning that your friend lives with her grandfather due to falling on hard times, and granddad has a Confederate flag up there. That was 1997. I had to learn about a Confederate flag going to a birthday party. And that's what some of these people don't get. White children don't have to learn these things at birthday parties, in the mall. They don't have to. It was supposed to be a nice outing. I had my little pretzel at the mall, and I get called a nigga. I'm going to the birthday party for ice cream and cake. I see a Confederate flag. That's what they don't understand. Our children have to deal with this, not theirs.
but yet they'll
They're
never
triggered.
they'll never get it, and they're triggered. And the whole thing, uh, Ron DeSantis
Yeah.
dismantling the Florida school system, because we don't want our children learning about this. So my thing is this: if you don't want your children learning about slavery and history and Black history, why should we learn about yours? What makes your history so important? Why should we learn about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, the white version? Let's hear the
True.
real version. Let's hear the real version of who these people are. You know, Derek Chauvin is in history books now. But what is the history going to be that MAGA tells about Derek
Derek
Chauvin? You know,
killed the fentanyl addict. That's the story.
what is
Who
the
put a gun?
history going to be about the white version of Martin Luther King? I mean, we've already had the watered down version of Martin Luther King, and the one that I still cannot get over is Rosa Parks and the fact that they took out of the history books, the school books in Florida, that Rosa Parks is Black. But yet you're telling, why is she in the history books then? You're going to take out the fact that she's Black. Okay. Rosa Parks was taken off the bus. Why? Because she sat in a seat. Why is she sitting in that seat? Why was she removed from the seat? Because she would not give up her seat to a white man. Well, why would she have to give up her seat to a white man? Because she was Black.
Right.
It's just so incredibly ridiculous to me It is so ridiculous to me. So when you talk about these laws, what have you, these are laws that white people make. A lot of them racist, stupid, ignorant, dumb, but they're supposed to help us. I had someone who used to like to tell me, well, I don't understand why you're getting upset when, we just want to help you. How are you helping me? You don't have a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of. How are you helping me? How are you? What can you do to help me? You need to go down and help your own people who have one tooth in their mouth, no education, having children with their sisters and their cousins. So they're continuing a generation of a lot of inbred people. Those are the people you need to help. Don't worry about us.
Why don't they go help Melania out and buy some tickets? Because that was a flop. Hey, no, because this is fun. Because they love to say that black people don't stick together and everything else. The maggots did not show up to that movie. 15 tickets got sold in Australia with a population of 22 million. The theater near my house, they sold a whopping 8 tickets. Another theater sold 2. Another theater sold none.
So I want to play one more video that I wanted to play Saturday, but I'm gonna play it now, and I'm gonna tell you why I wanted to play this video. Here we go.
I'd like to ask you something. All right. It occurred to me, having watched MTV over the last few months, that it's a solid enterprise and it's got a lot going for it. I'm just floored by the fact that there's so few black artists featured on it. Why is that?
I think that we're trying to move in that direction. We want to play artists that seem to be doing music that fits into what we want to play for MTV. The company is thinking in terms of narrow casting.
That's evident. It's evident in the fact that the only few black artists that one does see are on about 2:30 in the morning or to around 6. Very few are featured predominantly during the day.
No, that's a...
I'll say that over the last couple of weeks these things have been changing, but it's a slow process.
I know, it's funny, I think people have different perceptions. When you wind up watching, let's say you watch an hour or 2 or even 3 a day, people somehow come away with different ideas about what we are doing. We don't have any kind of day parting for anything, let alone a black artist day parted out of what would be, quote, prime time. We don't have that.
Because one sees a lot there's one black station on television that I keep picking up. I'm not sure which station it's on, but there seem to be a lot of black artists making very good videos that I'm surprised aren't used on MTV.
Well, of course, also we have to try and do what we think not only New York and Los Angeles will appreciate, but also Poughkeepsie or Midwest. Pick some town in the Midwest that will be scared to death by Prince, which we're playing, or a string of other black faces.
That's
and black
very
music.
Interesting. Isn't that interesting?
We have to play the music that we think an entire country is going to like, and certainly we're a rock and roll station now. The question would be asked, well, should, since we're in New York, should PLJ play, the Isley Brothers? Well, you and I might say, yeah, because we have grown up in an era when the Isley Brothers mean something to me, and so do the Spinners, even way after the Isley Brothers. But what does it mean to a 17-year-old? Well, if you talk on the phones to these guys like I did when I was in radio, it's
Well,
scary.
I tell you what it means. I tell you what maybe the Isley Brothers or Marvin Gaye means to a black 17-year-old.
Ah.
And surely he's part of America as well.
No question, no question. And that's why you're seeing those things.
Do you not find that it's a frightening predicament to be in?
Yeah, but less so here than in radio.
And is it not? Well, no, don't say. Well, it's not me. It's them. Is it?
No,
Is
well,
it
that's
not?
why
Is it not possible that it should be a conviction of the station and of other radio stations? To be fair, it does seem to be rampant through American media. Should it not be a challenge to try and make the media far more integrated in music,
happening.
especially of anything in musical terms?
Absolutely, I think it's happening because white music and white musicians are now starting to play more than ever, more than they have lately, let's say in the last 10 years,
Yeah.
what black artists have been into. And now, hopefully, the lines are going to start to blur, and when we play a band like ABC,
Yeah.
well, there's white and black kids who are enjoying it, and all of a sudden, well, it's a little bit easier for a white kid to understand it. The fact is, quite frankly, I could even point you towards a letter in the new issue of The Record,
Yeah.
the magazine The Record, responding to an article by Dave Marsh, that this kid just ranted about what he didn't want to see on MTV.
Well, that's his
And in no
problem.
uncertain terms, well, what I'm saying though is that there's, as you say, there's certainly a lot of black kids and white kids who may want to see black music. There's a ton of them who are, it's not like it was in '67 where you say, yeah, I'm not into that, you know, but you are, yeah. Now it's, you're into that, I don't like you. And that's scary, and we can't just turn around and go, well look, this is the right way. We can only teach, I think, a little bit at a time.
Interesting. Okay, thank you very much.
Does that make sense? Valid point?
I understand your point of view.
Okay. Y'all,
Said
like
the
I
right part out
said,
loud.
I am a boomer, so I remember when MTV first came out and aired their first video. And one of the things that MTV always had, and they're still having an issue with, is their inability to admit that they were wrong. And David Bowie got so much love from Black people because of this video. He picked up so many Black fans because of this video. And I like the way that he turned his interview. Mark Goodman was interviewing David Bowie, and David Bowie turned the interview around. And I like when he said at the very end, I understand your point of view. Did you listen to Mark Goodman when he was saying, well, you know, white people, they may not feel comfortable, so we can't play that. But then he said, well, you know, white people are starting to play Black music, so maybe, so y'all going to appropriate our music, then it's okay.
Right.
You know, then you all are comfortable. But right now, we're not comfortable with you. Michael Jackson in 1983 was just putting out Billie Jean and all those other, you know, whatever.
Right.
And they refused to play Michael Jackson. The man who was selling the majority, he was like on top of
The hottest thing.
He
Right.
was exactly. And you're not going to play. They refused to play Michael Jackson. And then when Mark Goodman said, well, somebody might be afraid of Prince. Okay, you're afraid of Prince, but yet y'all got these rock and roll people who are eating bats' heads and breaking their guitars on stage. That's not kind of fearful for people? Seriously?
Right.
Again.
You scared of Prince. Okay, I'm just saying. You scared of Prince. Woo.
I mean, it's Anthony Gordon and Mark is still trying because of this issue. Jubilation says David Bowie was a real one for this. He was. Okay, Mark Goodman. Well, you know. You know, it's it's just crazy, and I like the fact that whoever the cameraman was zoomed in on David Bowie's face, because David Bowie was like, "You're so full of crap. You are so full of crap," and he called him out, and he was calling out America. America is a racist. We're talking music, people. We're talking music. We're not talking about, you know, a black man taking out your white daughter. We're talking about music that's supposed to be, you know, something that everyone loved by everyone and bring the world together, you know?
I love it.
You know, so all right, so we are a little bit 5 minutes past our hour. So I gotta play this. Y'all know when I make a video, I have to play it. Okay, so Solid's timeline. So Miss Dread Empath, I have to ask you, if you in 2026, right now could go back in history, where would you go and why?
I probably would go back to when Columbus first came um, to America.
Okay, you're breaking up just a little bit there.
Okay, I said I would go back to when Columbus first came to the Americas. And me personally, I'd be waiting for his ass and put one right between his eyes.
Okay.
Because you know what? It was already, you know, and I don't want to, maybe if it wasn't him, it would have been another white man. But you know what? Maybe, just maybe, if the indigenous people had tortured that motherfucker and showed, you know, acted like the savages people said they were, maybe white men wouldn't have came to this land. Maybe they wouldn't have came here and did the damage they did. We may not be here. I might. I drink, but yeah, they should have took his ass out before he got off that boat. They should have told him, y'all are warned. Anybody that looks like you, tell them do not come back to this land. Don't be nice. I'd warn them head on, like.
Okay. All right. Now that you said that about Native Americans, I would go back, like way, way back. But I would make sure every Native American knew what was in store for them. Because when the white men first started going out west on their wagon trains, you know, before it was, they told the Native Americans, the government said, well, just let them have passage. Just let them through. You know, we're not going to cause any trouble. Just let them through. And then it was like, well, you know, we need this land because we have these people coming out here and they need to settle. And it was like, well, you know what? Y'all need, now we need water rights. Now we need this. Now we need that. You know, so I would tell Native Americans, tell the United States no. Because if Native Americans were able to seriously push back against the United States government, this would be an entirely different world. And I do believe it would be a better world. I've always said it, Native Americans have been screwed, but me today, I would go with Dread back to tell these Native Americans, this is what's going to happen and it needs to stop. You need to figure out some way to stop it. I would also tell Native Americans to join with Black people in making this stop, because this would be a completely different world. And maybe there wouldn't be so much greed, because you look at the way this country has been raped of its resources. We got malls up every place there, you know, it just makes no sense. So anyway, So, Dre, do you have any last words that you want to give everyone before we sign off?
Oh no, everybody be well, be safe, educate yourself, drink your water. Make sure you do at least 120 minutes per week of exercise. You only get one life. You get more than one heart. But do you really want to go on a waiting list for a donor? Take care of your body. Take care of your mental.
Well, you all, Friendly Differences podcast will be back on Saturday. And hopefully Miss Dread Empath will be with us. Not sure what the topic's going to be, but it is Black History Month. So I'll probably be pushing the envelope again. So until next time, y'all, stay triggered. Peace.